Welcome in to the KSL Sports Front Page. Tom Hackett, that's Matt Baiamonte. Big shout out, of course, to the University Federal Credit Union for sponsoring this broadcast. We greatly appreciate the folks over there, so go check them out. Matt, how are you, man?
I'm doing well. The weather's getting warm. That's nice. There's good news trickling out about sports. That's encouraging. This is probably the best I felt all year, Tom.
How crazy are you about sports? Just out of curiosity.
I'm crazy about a few sports and lukewarm about some others. So
Okay,
I'd probably say I'm a big fan.
you're a big fan.
Yeah.
I guess you guys down there in Utah County, you guys have something. There's something in the water down there, Matt. I don't know
Yeah.
what it is, but I'm very impressed. Let me tell you, I didn't quite realize. I must admit, I did not realize the level of fandom that BYU fans have for their programs. I mean, it is like beyond impressive. And I shouldn't say I'm not. Utah fans don't necessarily. They're still passionate, but man, I'm telling you, the BYU crowd, that those guys are going places, Matt.
Yeah, it's I think some of it too is just there's the Jazz, but it's not like other markets, and especially down here in Utah County, I think you just latch on, and at least for me, when I was growing up, BYU is better than they are now, and so you get that kind of taste of success, and they're a national brand, and so you kind of latch on, and then you throw into the religious aspect as well, Tom. Then it becomes even more heightened.
Just one big happy family, you guys are, and it's nice. I'm jealous. So let's start there. Why don't we? Let's start with some BYU news, and I'm not sure if you've seen this yet.
I have.
Okay, good, because this just came out roughly 30 minutes ago by our good friend Mitch Harper.
Yep.
BYU makes top 7 for Matt McClung. Matt, this is good news for BYU fans because it seems like the trajectory of the program is skyrocketing. Just weeks earlier, of course, Matt Harms committed to BYU from Purdue University, and now you're a chance for Georgetown product, Matt McClung. What is happening? What is Mike Pope telling these people, do you reckon, Matt?
Oh, man. I think if I've gathered anything from this coaching staff, being around them all season, they are just a bunch of cool dudes that you love hanging out with. I mean, you think about the people you like to spend time with, Tom. I think there's a common denominator where they have that infectious attitude that you want to be around. And I mean, that comes across from my perspective as a media member and this coaching staff. I can only imagine what that camaraderie is like between coach and player down at BYU. And you played college athletics recently. I think there's the current athlete, maybe more than ever, they want that. There are still players, I think, who want to be pushed and have that old school dynamic. But I think more than ever, Tom, I think there's that desire to have that type of relationship with a coach like Coach Pope. You see that in basketball. You see it a lot in football, that Dabo Sweeney type coach where it's not so letter of the law and crazy. But he's just building a family dynamic down there that I think people want to be a part of. And then on top of that, Tom, you've got the NBA aspect as well, where he has so many connections in the NBA and his assistant coaches, Chris Burgess, long-time European career. So I think there's that friendly element mixed with, I think there is a belief that these coaches will get you to the next level. Time will tell because it's only their only 1 year at BYU. But man, the trajectory of the program, Tom, it's out of control. I mean, a year ago, it didn't seem like BYU had any chance of getting to this level anytime soon. And then fast forward a year, and it seems like everybody's in the top 7, top 5 for BYU that's transferring. And I think what's so encouraging from a BYU fan perspective is there's a lot of non-Church of Jesus Christ people that are showing interest in the program. BYU's always been able to get the TJ Haws types who grew up being BYU fans, but Matt Harms, there's no connection to BYU. Max McClung, there's no connection. It's all about the current status of the program, which is really encouraging.
No, I agree, and you got to give credit where credit due, and that's Mark Pope coming in and I think he was also helped in a sense. I think Dave Rose left the program and left Mark Pope, Matt, with a pretty tidy team, pretty talented team, which obviously helps any new coach. So,
But Tom, I will say this: everyone looks at that team now and says Coach Rose left them with a lot of talent, and he did. But there was a lot of players on that team that don't come back if Coach Pope's there. No Yoli Childs, he goes pro. No Jake Toolson, he doesn't come over. And so there was some talent left by Dave Rose, but a lot of what we saw from last year's team, Alex Barcelo, another guy, he does not come to BYU without Coach Pope. And so I think he had a bigger impact on that team than maybe we even give him credit for.
That is fair. No, certainly fair. I think the BYU program's got a lot working for him at the minute. The fan base has rallied, behind the guys. They sell out a ton of games at the Marriott Center. The atmosphere's electric, and I think for any recruit, I really do believe that just the atmosphere of game days, whatever that may be, I think that does have a large impact on a prospect's decision as to whether or not they attend that school, because there's just nothing can beat a packed basketball arena if you're a basketball player or a filled football stadium. Like, nothing beats that. That's the epitome, and that's where everybody strives to be. And so for the fan base to rally behind the Cougars from a basketball perspective in the way that they've been able to do, I think has helped them out a ton as well. Moving up the valley slightly to the hill, Britton Covey. Hey, this is interesting. You're going to get a kick out of this, Matt, because I know how you roll. Yep. You bleed blue, I bleed red, and that's okay. We love each other for it. But every single year, there are these rumors that start. And I had no idea where they came from. So I asked Covey himself where he thought these rumors start. Do you have any guess? Have you read the article yet? Are you going to cheat your way into this?
I've read. I'm not going to cheat my way into it. I've read bits and pieces of it, but I think the rumors start from. It's really understandable. I think there's this belief that when you're a college athlete that is a member of the predominant church here and you serve a mission, I think there's this belief that you're going to have a change of heart. You're going to see a different perspective, and you're going to come home and you're going to want to transfer and be amongst like-minded people. So I understand where the rumor's from, but it is ridiculous to assume that everyone would have that feeling and then want to, Taysom Hill sort of did that. It's not quite the same because Stanford's, being admitted to Stanford's a little different, and there was more than just that. But I think that's where the rumors start from, and it's kind of ridiculous, Tom, to assume that would apply to all people in that situation.
You're not wrong, and I think what also adds to it is he went to Timpview High School, for crying out loud. He's a couple blocks from BYU's campus, which it makes sense geographically. His parents have lived down in Provo for a long time, and their family's big part of the community down there. So I get it. He thinks, though, Matt. Okay. He thinks Cougar Board is to blame.
Cougar Board is to blame for a lot of things, Tom.
I don't know what this. I mean, look, I've heard about Cougar Board, I should say. And
Cougar Bold is a good one too.
I guess that just goes to show how little I've been on it, but that's okay. I'm not a BYU fan, so I guess there's no real reason for me to be on there. But does it surprise you that Covey thinks Cougar Board may be the reason behind all of this?
Not at all. But I think more so than Cougar Board, I do just think there is that belief that players like Covey will serve a mission and see the light, so to speak, from a BYU perspective, and then have a change of heart. You wrote another piece, Tom. I want to get your opinion on this, but I love that piece that you wrote talking about his injury and how we didn't know how significant it was. And there was a little tidbit in there that I thought was really interesting, where he considered, if all went well his junior year, that he would declare for the NFL draft. And
correct.
Were you surprised by that?
No, not at all. No, I was not surprised one bit, Matt. And in fact, you can check the full interview out at the KSL Sports Instagram page. It's a 30-minute interview. It's fun. I think you'll have a laugh and you'll learn something, which is neat. He actually didn't talk about this in that particular interview. That was something I added to the piece, just because I know Covey. I played golf with Covey before. I was his teammate as well. That also helps. And he had mentioned this to me, I believe, last year, and I thought it was interesting, but no, it didn't surprise me, Matt, because he's not a very big guy. He's small, and he's been on a 2-year mission, which means
Older.
He's older, and so his body is now on this time constraint, trying to figure out when the best time is for him to go pro and all that. And I think if he has any opportunity, he needs to take it. But that's not going to happen anymore following the ACL meniscus injury he suffered during the 2018 Pac-12 championship game. So you've watched him play, Matt. You've seen he runs 2-yard slant routes right across linebackers that are 4 times his size, and they just about split him in half. This was the photo that you're watching now. This was the game from 2018. The lady in the background has a hand, in a fist over her mouth because she's worried that Covey might have died. Like he got beat up so badly that I remember interviewing him after the game, and he came in. He looked all uncomfortable. He had ice on his shoulder, his wrist, his ribs, and his knee. He had 4 bags of ice just on him. He was in a world of pain, and that's just another day in the life of Britton Covey. He's fearless, and he'll do anything to come down with the football, but at times it comes at a cost. And so I think he'll still end up playing in the NFL.
You do?
I do. Do you?
I go back and forth on this. Sometimes I wonder if the size and the durability is too much to overcome. But as soon as I start to go down that path and say too small, I realize that the slot receiver, players like Covey, I think this is the golden age for that type of player. You got the Cole Beasleys, the Julian Edelmans, little undersized, playing in that specific role. And so if he has a good bounce back year, yeah, I could, but the size I think is still a concern, is it not?
No, it is. There's no doubt, yeah, and he has to be a lot more careful moving forward. He now realizes that his body is maybe not a machine. It can break, and he just has to realize that he's not the biggest of fellas. So running over the middle, into 230-pound linebackers that are trying to take your head off isn't a good idea. And Hopefully whoever the starting quarterback is for Utah this year helps him out and doesn't kind of lead him down those paths. He's been down them far too many times. But I think durability for me is probably my biggest concern coming off an ACL redshirt season following. How's he going to respond? He claims to be as fast as he's ever been. He timed himself running a 40, Matt, and he clocked in. Now it wasn't electronically timed; it was hand timed, but it was about a 4.41. So if it was an electronic timed, it was probably more along the lines of 4.5, which he says is about as fast as he's ever been. I guess when he was at Timpview, he ran a 4.47. But anyway, we'll wait and see. Hey, speaking of football, so I want to go. Here you go. Look at this. You'll like this. So according to Mark Harlan, Matt, he's been in conversation with Tom Holmoe a ton, and the 2 athletic directors from the University of Utah and BYU respectively are still thinking September 3rd kickoff for the Holy War is on track.
Yeah. That's fantastic. That's great news, but I've never really understood, Tom, the narrative that you would want to delay the season and have it played in the colder months. I'm not a health expert by no stretch of the imagination, but it does seem like the colder months are when we have more sickness. And so I think that's reasonable if things continue down the path that we have seen in recent weeks. I would love to see that happen, though. I think not just from a BYU perspective, but we all want football back. We all want it on time. And if we can start it on time and have a full season, that's best for everyone, right, Tom?
No, that is, you make a good point. It's public now that June 1st is when a lot of campuses are planning to reopen their athletic facilities. And then I do know specifically up there on the hill, they are hoping to get into some larger group activities. I'm not entirely sure if that means the entire team practice or still segmented groups, but in a larger portion. I know they're trying and aiming and hoping to be able to do that around the middle of August or so. And then, so you start thinking, okay, you start doing math. Don't do math on there, but we'll do it here. They say if you need 6 weeks,
that's not going to work.
You're looking at an October kick, aren't you?
Yeah.
So it's going to be fascinating. It's going to be really, really interesting to see what happens. But it is good to hear that both Mark and Tom seem optimistic that the rivalry can continue. Do you think the Cougars knock off the Utes this year, Matt? And I need you to be honest with me.
This is a loaded question. I wasn't expecting to be put on the spot like this. I don't think I can say. I don't think I'm in a position to say that they're going to do it. I can't do it, Tom.
You don't think they will?
There's so much that goes into that question, Tom. Though.
No. I understand, but if the Cougars are gonna knock off the Utes, to me, in my opinion, I think this is the year.
Oh yeah, I'm 100% with you on that for a variety of reasons. You got an experienced BYU team coming back. There's some question marks with Utah's team at quarterback and some other important positions. How do they replace those? And then throw in the fact that there's not a full spring ball for both teams. I think that favors a more experienced team who don't need those repetitions. But you can't overlook the pressure that's on BYU just from the length of the streak. I think that's a really hard thing to overcome.
Do you really think there's that much pressure?
On BYU, yeah, absolutely. I think without there being a conference championship, I mean, players like Zach Wilson, I know that he said this recently on KSL Unrivaled that they've got to dial it down. It's not that big of a deal. Of course, it's a huge deal to BYU fans. It is a huge deal. If you were to survey 100 BYU fans, Tom, and said you can beat USC, a storied program, they haven't been as good lately, but you can beat USC or Utah. Pick one. I'd be stunned if 3/4 of those fans did not pick Utah. In fact, I would say it's even upwards of 90%. We want the Utah win. We want it. BYU Nation wants that win, Tom.
It is so fascinating to me because, I don't know if fandom's crazy, so I'm not.
Yes, it is.
And so I have to tread lightly, but. You look at the two teams on paper, you look at where the programs are at, and this isn't just me being a Utah bias necessarily, but what the Pac-12 has been able to do to the University of Utah program is quite remarkable, honestly.
Yeah.
And I was fortunate because I got to kind of see that firsthand. My first year was in 2012, so a year after the inaugural season, and then I ended in 2015. So I was the teams I was on played a large role in the development of where the teams are at now. And
no doubt.
Let me tell you, the level of just athletic ability that I saw in 2012 in comparison to when I left in 2015, drastically different. It's remarkable. Just you join a Power 5 conference and pigs start flying. It truly, it's crazy. And so I just see Utah having this wild advantage over the Cougars, really until the Cougars can find a way to join a Power 5 conference.
Yeah.
And so to me, that would suggest why do they put so much pressure on themselves when nobody really gives them a chance besides their own fan base? But I guess the bubble of Provo, the Provo bubble or the Utah County bubble just encapsulates them and they start thinking that they're a red hot chance. If I was Kalani, I wouldn't tell them that they're not a chance, but I would certainly play down the game so that the expectation isn't quite as big as it has been. But maybe that's why I'm in media and I'm not in coaching. I mean, I don't know.
The one interesting thing that we're going to have to wait and see what happens over time, but a potentially big wrinkle would be no fans in the stands, because that has had a huge impact on these games. There's been some unbelievable momentum swings up there on the hill from I want to credit the fans. Ultimately, I know it's the players, but that stadium can get loud. It can get intimidating. And I think that's had an impact. If that is not a factor in that game, who does that benefit? A less experienced Utah team, a more experienced BYU team who doesn't have to battle the momentum swings of fans?
No, there's no question that benefits BYU.
Yeah. And
like,
so,
no question that benefits BYU.
I agree with you, Tom. So if I want to see the game played ultimately, but man, that's why I love this game. There's so many storylines each and every year. So many interesting storylines.
It's so stupid, like if you really think about it, it's so stupid. But people's livelihood depends on the outcome of a game. Coach Whittingham used to tell the team, and this is not a lie. This is truth. And I can't vouch that he still does this, but he did back in the 2012 to 15 era. He would tell the players every year. The lead up before the game, we'd have a team meeting Wednesday or Thursday just to check in, see how everybody's doing. He'd say, "You guys might not realize this, especially if you're out of state, but there are people, men and women, that live all throughout the valley, that go to work, work their 9 to 5 in their office buildings. And every day, conversations are brought up. And just about every day, the BYU-Utah rivalry, if they're an avid sports fan, will get brought up. So if we lose this game, we are hurting thousands, millions of people that live around us.
Yeah.
They'll have to hear the wrath of BYU fans for 365 days. So let's help them out and let's get the job done." He would tell the players that.
That is awesome.
Crazy, huh?
That game's important to him, right? I mean, to me,
you know when that game got important to him? Like, when that game got really important to him was when a BYU fan approached his wife, Jamie. Yep. And I don't know how many people know this. But I know, and I'm not going to go into too much detail, but that ruffled a few feathers.
I imagine it would.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's when it changed. What was that, 2008?
Yeah, it feels like the end of last decade sometime, because I've heard different variances of that story from different people throughout time. So who knows exactly? You know what the truth is, probably. But
I don't know. He doesn't open up about that. But I do know a police officer started taking care of his family after games following that incident.
This rivalry, it's no joke. It's one of the hottest rivalries in college football. Even with the separation of conferences and everything that's happened, I still think this rivalry is just as hot as it's ever been.
You reckon?
Do you, if as a Utah alumni and fan,
okay,
you're telling me if BYU were to win this game, it'd be no big deal? It wouldn't bother you hearing BYU fans, "Finally, we broke the streak. It's all over. Pac-12's not that good." That would sting, Tom.
No. Yeah. It would sting. But at the end of the day, I think, like, if you ask 100 Utah fans whether they would prefer to not even win, but compete for the Pac-12 championship or beat BYU, they're gonna go Pac-12 championship all day.
Yeah, and rightfully so.
So if you lose BYU, it really hurts because now the rest of the country kind of has that on you, and top 25 voters are gonna say, well, if you can't beat BYU, whatever.
Yep.
then, you know, so it'll sting. But at the end of the day, Utah takes care of business in the Pac-12 South and the Pac-12 Conference. You win the Pac-12 championship, you're a red-hot chance. You're a sleeper. Really, regardless of your record for the most part, you know, you're probably limiting yourself to 2 losses overall, but you're a chance of making the playoff.
Yeah.
Depending on who you play, I guess.
Yeah. No doubt. I mean, think about upcoming schedules. If that's the situation and Utah has a win over Florida in a couple of years, no doubt about it.
That'd be cool. Hey, Matt, thanks for taking the time, man. It's been real.
It's been a blast. We got to do this again, Tom.
We do. I think we're scheduled. I think Mad Dog put us down on the schedule.
Nice, good.
For another day. So we'll see each other again. In the meantime, check Matt out on Twitter at Baiamonte. Matt, you can check me out at Tom Can't Hackett. This has been KSL Sports Front Page, brought to you by, of course, the University Federal Credit Union. We'll be back Friday. Not us, 2 other individuals, but the KSL Sports Front Page will be. Hey, Matt, be well. Stay safe, all right?
You too. Have a great Memorial Day weekend, man.
All right, dude. Be well.
Take care.